Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the Walking in Energy show. This is Chris Hales, your host. And a very good morning to everybody, and good evening to everybody, and good day to all those who are in between. We have with us today Mr. Michael Monk. How are you, Michael?
Doing great. Thanks, Chris. Glad to be here.
Excellent. Mr. Peter Shelton is actually otherwise occupied at the moment. May join us later, but we'll forgive him if he doesn't, because we understand these things come up every now and then. And also with us today, once again, third week running, is Galactic Historian, Mr. Andrew Bartzis. And we've got another conversation lined up, which is more or less a summary conversation with a bit of new material about everything and anything, which is apparently the role of the Galactic Historian, anything and everything. Good morning, Andrew. Better unmute, Andrew.
I am unmuted. I just lost you there for a second.
No worries. Good-o. How are you today?
I'm doing good today. How are you doing?
I'm fine. Very good. So, Michael, anything you wanted to drop into the discussion before we actually start? We've got a couple of clear objectives today.
Yeah. Well, this show is going to be more about actions. So, Andrew filled us in from a galactic history standpoint. What's going on here at the current time in Earth, and so this show is going to be more about what can we do to fix the situation and get everything running smooth and correctly. So that'll be this will be a good one. I've never been so much of an information person, because sometimes it's so overwhelming that it can almost seem disempowering. But the one thing I like many things about Andrew actually, but about his information is that he understands the sovereignty of the Earth creation and the true power that we have to actually make a change. And so this is going to be all about actions that we can do to make that happen.
Excellent. Well, we'll kick into the discussion, and we're actually going to start off today with a review of time. What is time? And I presume a discussion about how our perceptions of time are going to change in the reasonably close future. So, Andrew, how do you want to kick this off?
I'll give a description. I did this on the two other shows, and I described time as a sine wave of energy that's spiraling around a galactic central sun. Each solar system has its own unique sine wave based off of the pattern that it goes around in the central sun. Each planet inside the solar system has its own subcarrier wave inside the master solar time wave. Some planets have, the best way to describe it, a North Pole and a South Pole with two different times. Earth has three subcarrier waves of time: a North Pole, South Pole, and a central time. Each one of those is set up purposely and with a distinct purpose, so that all entities that are experiencing a central timeline can function with soul family above and below your timeline. So there's always an integration pattern here in this planetary structure that keeps the bottleneck of soul families from making a massive traffic jam. We're coming to a point in our history where we're going out of a very dense part of space, where the sine wave of our solar system is very compacted, and the part of space we're going into is not dense at all. So the very front part of our solar system, the leading edge planets, are already accelerated into that less dense area. And the whole time wave is starting to expand out now. And Earth and Mars are the two anchor planets right now, where our consciousness is literally the only thing that's holding us back into this lighter density space. This stretching effect of time is literally what the event is going to be, where we as Mars and Earth come out of the final part of our consciousness that's anchoring us in the more dense spot, and we come into alignment with the brand new solar system's new carrier wave of time based off its position to the galactic central sun and the actual density of the space. So the event is a consciousness exploration event. The event is a dream time situation. And the event is also a rescaling of time back to the natural evolutionary way that time is counted, other than the social agreement that we're functioning in this matrix right now. A long, long time ago, when we were still a very young species, we used this social agreement of time because of our 3 concentric time situations above and below and within. And this was to limit people as well as to expand the amount of souls that could migrate here. That phase is coming to an end where the social agreement of time will no longer be valid in any way, shape, or form, and all the sciences that use that counting form of time will simply have no validation within them anymore.
That's a very interesting proposition. How does that actually play out in day-to-day life when the social agreement of time is no longer valid? What does time look like on a daily basis?
Time is experience. Many, many beings, the way they age is through the experience. If you go and you have an experience with a friend, you'll age from that. If you go and have a very powerful experience with another woman, you'll age from that. You would only age based off of your experiences that you do.
So if you don't do anything, you'll be forever young?
No, you just will lose out on interacting with the world, and this world keeps you in motion and in action. Just living in the world is an experience. So if you want to live your personal sine wave of time on the planet, if you want it to be very slow, it can be very slow. You can become a tree and still have the entire sentience and enter the dream time. That functions right now the way it is. The trees can enter the dream time. The animals can enter the dream time. But we're really separate of them because of the sacred geometry cities. And it's come to a point where the sacred geometry cities will no longer function as dream catchers. And all sentient here will share unified dream time, as well as being able to control the way that they experience time during their awake sessions here. And your experience here will determine how you age.
Okay, so we're going to literally enter dream time as one united species, along with the rest of the conscious things on the planet.
All sentient kind here on this planet, and all sentient kind invested into our freedom.
How will science be affected then? And there's an awful lot of, say, mathematics behind science. In fact, it's pretty much all mathematics. Are you saying that will no longer be valid? It won't actually be able to be used by them to predict events in the natural world? Like dropping a ball out of a tree will take a certain amount of time, in inverted commas.
That's based off of Newton's theory of gravity. Well, we'll learn that gravity pushes, it doesn't pull. We'll learn that our basic concepts of science are fundamentally flawed. Here's a very good example. In the early 1900s, when the Wright brothers were going to fly their airplane, the science community of the whole world came together and created mathematical formulas that said it's impossible, absolutely impossible in all of history for any human being to fly. And they had these mathematical concepts that proved the wing theory couldn't possibly exist or function. A little more than 2 years later, you had Kitty Hawk, and then a little more than 8 years later, you had airplanes falling all over the world. The same thing was with the Einstein-Rosenberg bridge, the same thing about faster than light. CERN just proved faster than light. Science constantly proves itself wrong. And this will be another one of those stages where science not only proves itself wrong, but the spiritual people will go to the scientists and say, hey, I need you to be invested, involved in this world, separate of this dogmatic concept that we've had. Where do we begin to break bread?
That will become incredibly hard for a lot of academic scientists. They're going to have a very, very interesting and difficult period of time adjusting to that.
Well, the people in the 20s had a very difficult time adjusting to the rapid change in technology. You went from, having an outhouse to indoor plumbing in 20 years.
I guess sacred geometry is one of the points where science and the spiritual actually meet. Do you think that'll be if you like, their bridge across from the dogmatic region they live in at the moment to one where spirituality and science are all one and the same thing again?
It will function that way. And something to say, I talked about the control rooms last week, and those will be used for positiveness. They can be used to benefit this world, and all the programs that are functioning can be eliminated. We just need our people to come together and operate them in honest and openness.
Well, that goes for all of the technology we discussed last week, does it not? The mobile system,
all of it,
everything. And what you would actually do instead of playing frequencies through it that disturbs everybody or affects their consciousness, you'd do the opposite. You'd play through. Well, what frequencies, Andrew?
Well, you'd start with deprogramming the world. That could take several weeks or several hours, depending on how fast you want to do it. But at that point, the world's going to be broken down into several thousand local realities, and local realities will have positive manifestors in there. And that's the separation of density of souls, the older souls versus the younger souls, the consciousness expanding souls versus the freshly awakening people, ones that are still experiencing the rest of their dream time so they can catch up with the rest of the species here. I mean, there are microbes on this world that are vastly more intelligent than the average man.
That's an interesting concept.
Yeah, and about what he said with the separation into sub-collectives that are holding local realities, just so everybody understands, he's not just talking dream time, he's talking independent, localized physical realities as well. And as you guys know from past shows, I do a decent amount of time traveling during my out-of-body time, and 2 nights ago I did a time travel consciousness projection of 2019, and I ended up in a collective, and I asked them, what year it was. They said 2019, and I asked them, was there any major events since 2013? And they said that there was the event, which they referred to as the separation into many isolated collectives. And this particular collective that I was in was based off of the energy of Mars. Now, don't get me wrong, it was Earth, but they told me that their formation of their reality grid was based off of the energy of Mars. And, I don't know exactly what to make of that. And it's also important to understand whenever you see any type of future that it's not necessarily the future, it's a probability, it's a maybe, and that's always the case. So it's very, very dangerous for time travelers and people listening to them to get too caught up in the information they got. But in this probability that I was in, an event like that would happen sooner than you think.
A question on the isolated collectives, Andrew, and Michael. How many people does it take to actually effectively form a collective under the sorts of new conditions we're headed into?
It can be as little as 50 empowered people. You just basically need a complete soul family, and you can start a local reality.
How different can the local realities be?
Vastly different. You'll be able to shape your reality to your will as a co-creating being, as long as you're in unity dream consciousness with the earth, because you'll create it in dream time, and then when you come out of dream time, your physical talents will manifest. And just as if you were to plant, a big 10 acres of vegetables, you could be able to plant that in a day, simply because your will to plant is there. The will empowered to the plants into the garden itself is there. It's part of the dream time overlay. So you'll be able to be in almost a fast-forward scenario, because time won't be a social agreement anymore. And that's why these local realities are going to be very, very potent. Many of the big cities that are dream catchers, sacred geometry dream catcher cities, are going to convert rather rapidly, simply because the energy grids of the Earth is going to so rapidly raise, and the control rooms aren't going to be able to function to milk you of your dream energy, or to keep you locked in a place that's not a true dream time area, which would be the North Pole or the South Pole.
So at the point where things really start to shift in that direction, the fact that there's so many people gathered into cities will actually accelerate the process. In fact, it's going to work against the people who previously wanted to control.
It'll reach that point where the straw that breaks the camel's back will come through the big cities, yes, because that's where the major network hubs are, And that's the network hubs are forcing people to awaken with their own propaganda.
It's all their own tools coming back to haunt them. How would it be possible to travel from local reality to local reality? That is, could you let's say jump in a craft and fly between any major city in the US, and there are hundreds of them, and simply go from one reality to another, or is it more complicated than that because the realities are so different?
It is more complicated than that. And what it'll function as, you'll have to project yourself there in a dream sense first, and then learn the rules. And then when you project there, you'll need some type of temporary visitor or immigration status through your dream world. These Dreamtime cities will be very well protected, and they'll have specific rules on what entities can come in here and what the experience is about. They don't want you coming in with your free will like a bull in a china closet, changing their reality.
That is a completely new game.
Yep.
How quickly do you think that once the process has begun, once we get past this geopolitical backstop, and we'd be talking about the time-out period and the fun and games afterwards a little later in the show, we're talking a year, 2 years?
7 to 11 months after the second part, the second phase of the event. The event will come in 4 phases. The second part, so once the first Dreamtime reality city comes to manifest, either it manifests as a cloud city, or it'll manifest something in the North Pole or the South Pole where, there'll be nonstop vision upon it, because there were cloud cities that existed here before. In this world, functioned as local Dreamtime realities many, many times before. Even in the 700 AD time, there were thousands of local realities that were only inter-affected by the local faiths of the area. And when the military started marching in, they brought in their faith, which dominated the local realities. So the colonialism period was really about dominating the local realities so they can bring it under a unified propaganda reality. So it's a reassertion of the way the world actually works, functions normally.
That would account for, how they say they couldn't see the ships at first. It's not because they'd never seen one, or not for the reason that people have speculated, but it's for that it really had to phase into their reality, period. It was like an intrusion.
The Roman armies were the classic example of local reality busters.
Okay, can you describe a cloud city?
Think of the movie Empire Strikes Back, where they go to that cloud city, except it's not metallic. It would be made of crystal. It would be not a very dense place. It would be very easy to fly or teleport between structures, unless you just wanted to walk. All of the environments of a world exist within these cloud cities. Oceans, deserts, everything that you can need exists there because it's a Dreamtime scenario that has taken solid form.
By agreement, obviously.
By natural agreements to the Earth grid. Normally, in the million-year past, there were as many as 200 cities in the North Pole and as many as 1,000 cities in the South Pole, all air cities.
Can you see situations where cloud cities specifically isolate themselves from everybody else?
Yes, and that will be when the primary soul families, the 2,300 soul families, want to come together to create an ambassadorial place that allows all people that are connected to those primary soul families to have a full update on how the planet's going to change through Dreamtime assembly.
What happens to Gaia herself down on the surface of the planet once this
she gets to go from 3rd density to 4th density to 5th density, and the 5th density concept means her grid is fully active on her stratosphere and on her surface. So that means all beings that want to truly function in an astral projection have 2 grids to use their mental triangulation for projection. Right now, you don't have a heavy airborne grid. It's very, very light, and the surface grid is almost unempowered at all. So So it makes it very difficult to astral project unless you're an energy master, or have at least learned the basic techniques of grounding yourself so you can remote experience things.
Okay, now mastering energy then is going to be absolutely critical to, creating these realities and evolving these realities. Are there enough people amongst us who can actually do this without the whole thing becoming difficult and chaotic?
So there were enough people in 2006 to do it. So the answer is yes, there's more than enough. And many of them are kids that are 10 years old, 9 years old, 6 years old. And when they wake up from their dream world, they're just going to start changing reality around their parents.
You said 2006. What happened in 2006?
That was the end of the Syrian Grey War, where you had basically all the good guys and all the bad guys met at a D-Day type battle, and they made a massive invasion in a central area and defeated the mass technology producing centers, slavery centers that were from the negative aspects of the Syrian Greys.
On this planet?
It was not just this planet. It was like 6 galaxy-wide campaign.
So where on this planet was the war being waged?
In our solar system.
Okay, in our solar systems. Okay, so it wasn't.
But
it wasn't just on the planet.
Well, there were agents here on the planet expelling the negative entity Greys. There's several dozen subspecies of Greys that people kind of just understand that, and the subspecies, many of them don't have a tree of life and are simply used and abused to be the bad guys.
Yeah, so they're essentially a slave species.
Yep.
Not much fun for them either.
Nope.
Okay, so you've got 10-year-olds and activated adults actually creating these local realities, and I'm assuming that they will all create positive environments.
Well, not everyone's going to create a positive environment. There's so many people that are still in polarity. For example, let's say a 10-year-old kid who's only known the Christian religion as his paradigm and then comes out of dream time and understands that his paradigm is much more than that. It'll have a theme of what he's based on, and then that theme will begin to change as he begins to invite other people in there. And based on the discipline of each person of what you allow other people to change your local reality, and then how you come together in dream time to assert rules for your local dream time. There could be many children that they wake up, they're in their own little world. I mean, you see it today, but they'll literally make their own world. They'll walk through an invisible energy portal, and they'll be in their place. But at the same time, they'll be able to project a part of themselves back here that can still function with the parental reality.
The underlying theme is that we'll have a constantly shared dream time.
Yep.
How will we be consciously dreaming? That is, we'll always be aware that we're in a dream?
How many times have you woken up inside a dream and questioned if it's real or not?
For me, only occasionally, but I know others it's all the time.
Well, imagine waking up in a dream and knowing that it's a dream, and yet it's real at the same time, that you're in both places at the same time. And you can have full functionary access over all of your energy skills in both places.
So you're co-creating while you're dreaming and while you're waking?
Correct.
All the time. So in dream time, is the case of having a permanent session, a permanent meeting happening in dream time where the local reality is actually being shaped?
Correct.
Right. Okay.
And that's all based off of the energies of the Earth grid. That's why we can't create local realities right now. And that's why what Michael and Peter at the Energy Masters Institute are doing is showing you can create your local reality through aerokinesis, hydrokinesis, and telekinesis. And it's going to come to a point where people are just going to realize it's just the way we've always lived. And they've spent the last 26,000 years taking it away from us. Again, lucid dreaming, waking up inside it. Everyone's experienced that for a reason. It's the way we normally function.
Okay, so in let's say dream time, you finish a dream time session, and the human who's sleeping is consciously is actually dreaming the whole time and aware that they're dreaming. Do you actually go to sleep in dream time and then wake up in non-dream time?
At times, yes. At times you will. For me right now, I go to sleep here and I wake up somewhere else. When I go to sleep somewhere else, I slowly wake up back over here and re-experience everything that I did over there in a very fast-forward format.
So you'd go through your life essentially not feeling like you'd actually slept in the way that we currently do?
No, you'd feel like you slept, because right after you wake up, the auto-programming takes over and your body wakes up out of its sleep paralysis. You're fully regenerated because the dream time side of you has 100% nurtured your entire energy body and re-healed you as much as your dream has allowed you.
So you're switching your consciousness from your energy body to your physical body. Is that a rough analogy of what's going on?
Yes.
Okay.
And it's really important to understand, like, people speculate when they haven't been doing this, that if you're having your conscious awareness in the out-of-body dream time, that you would suffer from lack of sleep because the speculating mind says, well, my mind didn't get a rest. Well, the mind never rests. Like, in absolute, you're always shifting from one body to the other. And we have many different levels of these and many different bodies on each of these different levels, but it's actually quite the opposite of that. Humanity is suffering right now by not having out-of-body experiences and lucid dreaming time, because that invigorates the mind and the body to have that experience in consciousness. So actually, when I wake up from a night of spending hours and hours out of my body, I am charged and invigorated. If I have a night without any out-of-body experiences, I have a very hard time waking up.
It seems to me, Andrew, that what and Michael, like your comments on this too, we're heading into, directly from where we are now, into a situation where it's extremely spiritually advanced and extremely advanced in the use of energy for actually manifesting reality moment by moment, if I can say it, day by day. I get the distinct impression that the experiences we had in the 20th century were completely subverted by the controllers. I'm of the opinion we should have been experiencing, if you like, a technological, somewhat golden age where we had free energy, where we had some form of anti-gravity craft, throughout our actual society, and that was supposed to be the springboard into what's coming. But we've actually missed that part, because we're almost going to go directly from here to the final destination.
Exactly. Like I said in the beginning, Earth and Mars consciousness are still anchored in the dense part of space, and they haven't slingshot forward through the unified global Dreamtime event to bring them fully in the less denser part of space, so that we can reset time. The three timelines that function on Earth can reset and eliminate any of the negative leftovers of all the inconsistent time wars and time traveling events that are still trying to go on now. Basically, once you get fully out of the dense part of space and the entire solar system has no anchors in the other dense, it's all in the light part of space, anything that tried to time travel in any way, shape, or form, or dimensional travel, has to literally renegotiate its ability, because all of its targeting concepts, all of its astrogation concepts was based off of our solar system in a very dense part of space.
So hence the change in time.
Yep.
So all of the technology that utilizes the particular time concepts that were appropriate back in that dense part of space, they don't work anymore.
Nope. Don't work anymore.
Can you point to specific bits of technology that will cease to function?
It's really about the predictive models that they use on us. the predictive models that they use to chart our breeding, chart our interbreeding, to chart what types of soul families they wanted to limit out of here, all of that predictive modeling is useless now. And all of that predictive modeling is what they base time travel off of, so they can use and abuse the migration patterns here.
So our on-the-ground technology will keep working as it currently does?
There will be some that fails really quick. There'll be many airplanes that just find themselves unable to take off. You'll find some of your vehicles simply just disappear.
Completely?
Completely, because it's your dreaming way of saying walk, get out, exercise, experience nature. Okay. And then that will lead you into teleportation. We'll simply call it that.
So you'll actually unmanifest them?
Yes.
And it'll disappear. I mean, will people be consciously aware of the fact that they've wished their car out of existence?
Many will not, and many of them will have to go through the hardcore challenges of reality changing around them. And many will say, "Am I still dreaming?" And for every day for the next year, "Am I dreaming? Pinch me. Am I dreaming? Pinch me." And that's the denial factor of the leftover sleeping people that got forced through several dozen dream realms that essentially reawoken them to a new definition of time.
That's a hell of a ride. In fact, that really does sound like some dreams I've had.
Well, the dreams tell you everything, absolutely everything. It's just a matter of you can process it and use your own dreams to help you create a predictive model of what your reality is like.
Michael, under these circumstances, I've had lots of discussions with people about what would happen. There's going to be to some degree, fear reactions from people, which, if they're sufficiently active, will probably manifest as little chunks of fear in their reality. Like manifesting giant monsters. If you happen to be afraid of some giant monster and make one, are there enough people around us who are aware of, dotted around our society that know what's going on and can help them through?
Hopefully by that time, yes. And it has to do with the density of an individual's soul mass as to whether or not other people can manifest around them. So if I'm in a light reality that's already fashioned in the way that Andrew is saying that the physical reality is, a smaller soul can't come around me and just make something appear unless it's within my paradigm. It just straight won't happen. So there's enough of us here, and there's going to be enough of us here that are actually going to master our energies and ground in the fullness of our soul mass so that we can anchor a sane reality for everybody in our local area.
Create healing centers, healing cities. All that can be manifested rather quickly when people start working together. There'll be blood, sweat, and tears put into it, but we'll have manifested it with our own unified dream time and our physical hands in unity. And Earth Mother will be far more a part of our lives than she was the previous 28,000 years. Far more of a part of us.
Will there be any sort of conscious communication between us humans and Gaia?
Oh, absolutely. Women will be going through a rapid, massive, sacred feminine awakening. And there will need to be men out there that can hold their space to allow them and nurture them through that process. There will be many tears. There will be many women that are 60 years old that will just be pregnant. 70-year-old women.
And that will go to full term and have normal babies?
Yep.
And would it be a case of where you could actually choose to become pregnant?
Well, you'll have women will have psychic experiences with the Earth Mother, who would be fully taking over the incarnation grid that was hijacked. And once she's fully in control of that, she is the one that is the filter of soul families, instead of the domination and control grid, which limits you from soul family. So what would come in would be a child that completes your soul family, completes your soul spark, completes the person that you are, heals you of all of the feminine wounds you took during your lifetime, and there would be your child.
Okay, are we talking about manifesting without there having to be intercourse? I mean,
In some situations,
giving
yes.
birth? Okay.
In some situations, yes. But mankind will come together in intercourse also, because it's natural for people to do that. And that has been one of the used and abused parts of our society in total. You know, as people begin to experience the event in local reality, they're going to naturally find men and women, men and men, so on and so forth, to whatever your natural soul family is. And that will be absolutely natural.
The programming by religious organisations against anything other than, you know, specific kinds of unions is incredibly deep. Sounds like there's going to be a lot of long nights of soul coming up on that score.
That's right. All of those religious organizations that are proponents of that are going to have to go through their own reformation, and many of them might try to make their own local realities. You know, the Amish have done it here in the United States. The Mennonites have made their own local reality where they don't take on technology. And some of those organizations that survive the event will reform to their local needs. And if there's a Catholic Church that's still a representation of that, it will find the dogmas to take out, but there still will be people that need healing time in those local realities that only allow that.
The healing you're talking about is psychic healing.
Yes.
Will there actually be, you know, psychic healers? In fact, we spoke at one point off air about psychic surgeons who carry out this kind of healing. I presume that's something that will develop quite rapidly.
Yeah, there's 7,300,000,000 of us. We need 1 billion healers on the world. And many people will simply wake up one day and just understand that they can heal with their voice or their hands simply by sitting next to a person and holding space, or beginning to communicate with them, or doing hands-on healing so that you're able to share your energy with them and not have any of your own energy be taken away, because the Earth Mother would be nurturing any healer with a full amount of energy that they expended every second.
Will we eat?
Oh yeah, we'll still eat. That'll be one of the hardest things for many people to break off of, is eating. We live in a world where we have a food chain.
Okay,
and we as a
and Andrew, what you just said infers that it's optional.
Correct. It is optional. Though our basic rule here is we have a food chain and we all survive off a food chain. We can change that on a larger scale. It was just a program that was used because of the type of free world this was set up on.
At the same time, there'll be certainly the ability to manifest food directly, or to use
Correct.
technology like replicators to get that process started. That should quite quickly remove the need for large-scale farming and large-scale fishing and large-scale animal cropping.
Yep.
Should it not?
Exactly.
If we can cross this line to where we've got our full focused consciousness anchored in a lighter zone, then there's already technology in that density that can do all of that. But it's just that the technology isn't in this density yet. And I, for one, I'm gonna keep eating no matter what. I mean, taste is a whole one of 5 different awesome ways we've learned how to enjoy vibration. So I'm not gonna give that up. You know.
Now, one of the things about it is, say, you know, I learned to manifest. I can manifest physical things, and I want to create a situation where I can project any dish that I've learned to cook or that someone else has learned to cook. Is it a case of simply projecting the memory pattern you had of that favourite dish in your favourite restaurant? Could it work that way?
That's a skilled way of describing it, but in your dream, which is a real world at the same time, you can manifest it. In the, we'll just call it the real world, where you're functioning as the awake you, separate of the asleep you who's still interfunctioning with you, you can manifest things, but there is a process to cooking food that is part of the creation of it.
Mm-hmm.
So, do you need to start with ingredients? Not necessarily. You could just start with the super hot pans, and then all of a sudden the chopped meat or whatever is in the frying pan, whatever the meal's going to be, you'll just manifest the contents into something that's retaining a large amount of your energy that you're putting into it.
If you're manifesting, then you're just recycling energy into matter and then back, biologically into energy.
Correct.
Fascinating. Yeah, that's recycling in its purest form.
That's right.
So the technology that probably will appear will only be somewhat temporary. I wouldn't imagine it'll be around for decades and decades because it would just not become necessary after a certain time. Or will we always have... You go ahead.
There'll be two phases of technology introduction. And the first phase of technology that will be introduced is that all transactions here on Earth, all monetary equivalency, even though money won't be a situation anymore, if you're having a transaction between two people, all transactions will be overseen by the Earth hive mind. Earth will be the one that determines how energy is exchanged in the form of a payment. So there'll be no need for a governmental organization to tax us, no need for any organizations because the Earth's sentience will literally interfunction with specific technology pieces that act as the buffer between exchanges of people.
What if you wanted to buy something that has a lot of resources required to create it, like a house? How does that actually work in a situation that you just described?
Well, at that point in time, you'll have a tremendous amount of energetic bank account reserve from the fact that the forces of domination and control have been milking you of energy for 500,000 years.
So there is a reconciliation in that respect. Yes. Okay. So we're basically energetically going to come out of this well-resourced and able to actually do major things for quite some time before we get back to something where we have to, well, I guess contribute before we remove.
Correct.
And when we do get to that phase, how will we contribute energy? Or how will we act? How will we do so that that our energy bank account starts to go back up? How does that work?
Every time you go for a transaction, Earth will give you an option to be an in-service stage or in service to self-growth stage. If you've reached enough of your local reality, you've reached enough of your own sentience and conscience that you want to be a part of the changing of the surface and the air of the Earth, you'll go into service to Earth mode, and then you'll begin earning energy based off of the energy you input as an energy master to help change local realities or to help other people gain the skills to create local realities or Earth's surface to better everything for the whole planet.
And is there any physical labor involved here, or is it all energy work?
There's a lot of physical involved. Many people will still need to use tools. And the actual hammer and stuff like that will still exist for a very long time because for so long, people that are, skilled laborers manifest with their tools. Mm-hmm. And there will be technology that has no moving parts but are still tools for consciousness manifestation.
Fascinating. So if you do service to Earth on the surface of the Earth, you could still be swinging a pick.
Yeah, but it's really different than just swinging a pick. I mean, if you're going to dig a trench that's going to irrigate a desert, you won't be working alone. You'll be working with a series of other people that are all invested into that because the amount of energy that's going to be returned to the Earth when the desert becomes flowers is tremendous. And since you're all co-creating that local manifesting reality, even if it looks like there's trucks and dirt movers and people there, it'll be done so fast because you're creating that local reality.
Wow. This is really, headed in quite a different direction to what I thought. even 6 months ago.
Bear in mind that we have to create all of this. There is
yes.
no event unless we create an event. So
how
about steer the rest of the show towards what we're going to do, to make all this happen.
All this happen, yeah, because what Michael said is really important. I've come to the conclusion of recent times that we create the event. So let's talk about that for sure. How do we create this event, Andrew? What are the key things?
As I said, we Earth and Mars are locked into the denser part of space right now. And that's literally what's keeping us from manifesting this event, having the Dreamtime experiences. As I spoke in the first two shows, it's about understanding your spiritual contracts, how the system and grids function, and how to re-empower the Earth grid. Many people here know what Earth grid working is. That's where you work with the ley lines. Well, there are contracts that the systems of domination control have that limit the Earth from raising its energetic grid. So we need to start functioning with the Earth grid. You need to create self-expressive prayers that are separate of external beings and only to the Earth's grid. You need to begin eliminating your spiritual contracts to the multidimensional entities that are there so you're truly free. I posted a bunch of them on Facebook. I'll read a couple real quick. They're pretty short, but these are the examples of what you can do to help aid yourself in growing away from the need to be shown everything through the systems of domination and control. Just a second. This is about spiritual courts of equity. I call to all spiritual contracts that exist with my past, present, and future beings, selves, and existence in this dimension, in this time stream, all time streams above and below the Earth concentric sine wave of coexistence. At this exact moment, in the ever-present co-creating moment, I summon all DNA lineage and the DNA lineage ancestors to meet to create a unified, proper spiritual court of equity, so I find remedy and resolve with all contracts that have inserted fine print during the pre-birth and post-birth process. I call forth all soul ancestors to begin reading the record in the sacred neutral point of view. All dogmas and political, spiritual, or religious concepts are hereby permanently expelled from this neutral reading of all spiritual contracts, with all times visible and invisible. All dimensions interacting positively, passively, and actively are hereby informed that time does not exist as a social agreement. The counting of time returns to the natural universal format. At this ever-present co-creative and procreative moment, I hereby inform all entities that have territorial issues in spirit and solid form. The rules of the spiritual court of equity prohibit all territorial assertions of knowledge, wisdom, or enlightenment that exclude all sides from witnessing the reading of the record in the sacred neutral point of view. That is an example of creating your own energy so you can function with your contracts. All right, here's another one.
Now, what do you mean by, Sandra, what do you mean by function with your contracts?
Your contracts are always available for you to experience. You just have to raise your personal energy investment so that you're creating a spiritual court of equity that's based off your true soul family lineage and no people that are posing as soul family. Right now, these multidimensional beings are posing as your soul family, quite literally. And as I said in the last two shows, they're the rotten family members, and you can't live with them. You may still love them, but you can't function with them. Their purpose here is to destroy, to dominate and control. So removing all of the spiritual contracts that involve any of the systems they've created, any of these multidimensional beings, and any of the energy harvesting system is very important to say to your energy field that this is not allowed in any way, shape, or form.
So you're literally reading this to yourself?
Correct.
Okay.
Out loud. And it's important to do it out loud. Here, I'll do another one. I came up with 3 examples that just so people can function with their own. Mm-hmm. I call forth all spiritual contracts that involve limiting the unified aspect of our global Dreamtime society. I revoke all tacit consent, uninformed past life consent, cultural uninformed consent, and all situations that limit me as being a complete soul family with all capability of living within the unified global Dreamtime as a sovereign earth-centric soul with infinitely complete soul family circuitry. I hereby revoke all soul family decision-making process from all spiritual courts and hijack incarnation grid employees in tangible and spirit form. I now revoke all captured or assumed powers by all beings of the entire system of domination and control. I now revoke all interaction or assume powers with all energy harvesting beings. I demand instant remedy and repayment of all stolen energy for lifetimes past, present, and future. I do not give consent in any way, shape, or form to be a part of the system of domination and control. I invoke the power of the soul family spiritual court of equity to act as the medium of contractual interactions with any being in the system of domination and control.
What is a spiritual court of equity?
It is when your DNA lineage family, that is the ancestors, come together and read all spiritual contracts for the entire family or for your specific genetic lineage line, and allow all contracts to be read without polarity in the neutral perspective so that new contracts can be come up with that are procreative for the soul family. But if you have people that are true soul family and are inserted to your soul grid, oftentimes they can take over spiritual courts of equity. That's why it's important to get to the true neutral aspect of the court of equity, where it has no dogmas, no political concepts, no overt or covert motives.
You've spoken of a great migration of soul families. Is the purpose of that great migration so the soul families can cancel all previous contracts and begin afresh?
Yes, to begin fresh. You know, so many of us just don't have a complete soul family. You know, there are some people that have only like 2 or 3 members of their soul family on Earth, and if they had 10 or 20 more, they would be incredibly powerful people of healing and knowledge and wisdom.
How do you find your soul family?
Oh, instinctual. It starts in the dream world. You meet in the dream world. Many of our soul family are living beings on various vessels out there right now. And as I've said in other shows, there are people that come here physically, and then there are people that come here spiritually. When you come here spiritually, you have one set of rules. When you come here physically, you have another set of rules. Because that physical representation of you here is to meet the physical representation of your soul family, so you can co-experience your reality. So when you both do pass on, your soul family status is increased to the next level where you can do much more powerful things in your lives.
So you essentially, you know, you might depart physically, but you remain with your soul family. Your energetic signature is still there.
That's correct.
So the soul family actually grows with each new member added through, I guess,
right.
birth, yeah. Wow.
Here, I got another one I'm going to read real quick.
Yeah, please do.
I call to the 4 elements, fire, earth, air, and water. I call to the Great Spirit who lives within Great's mystery. You, the powers of Mother Earth manifested. I call to your wisdom in this medicine moment. Bless me as I walk the sacred soil. Bless me as I breathe your sacred air. Bless me as I warm myself with sacred fire. Bless me with your sacred waters of life. Bless me so I may learn to walk with personal power. Today I travel the great unknown. Grant me the wisdom to be humble. Grant me the wisdom to love even when love is not returned. Grant me the knowledge to balance my personal way, so I heal my family, my tribe, my nation, and our Mother Earth. O Great Spirit, who's the source of all power, show me to the pathway to where magic lives within my soul, so I may drink with its power and share it with you all. I call to the manifested powers of Mother Earth. Come forward and interact with me as a complete dreamtime entity in all my past, present, and future lives. I now revoke all contracts with all sacred geometry cities that create false dreamtime space. I revoke all assumed powers, rights, and contracts that involve the complete system of sacred geometry cities in this dimension and all dimensions that interact with the Earth and Dreamtime format. I return all sovereign Dreamtime rights, powers, and duties to Earth Mother's original Dreamtime grid. I demand instant remedy and repayment for all lost interaction with true soul family and Dreamtime societies that unify Earth as complete being. I now notify any being, tangible or intangible, any interaction with me, my dreaming body, is now agitated by Earth Mother's primary Dreamtime grid in the Aurora Borealis of the North Pole and South Pole. I revoke and remand all assumed powers that send me to any false Dreamtime grid created to limit me in this personal expression of a fully functional Dreamtime in this matrix and all their matrix that uses Earth Mother as a central planetary sentience. Those are the types of examples that people can do for themselves. And that right there is asserting your power, asserting your free will, and giving instructions to the energy and to the Earth to be a part of this contract of life.
So people can create their own
yes.
soul contract document?
They can.
They can, and I presume that what you provided is an indication of the type of language and the type of content that's required.
Yes.
In order to be
another
effective.
one.
Yep.
I've got another one. It's just kind of a short one. But these are 4 examples. You can go to my Facebook page and read them on my wall. I call to all beings of earth, mind, sentience. Hear me as I speak my heart's truth. Hear me as I speak these words. I now revoke all soul family immigration status to the 15 multidimensional beings who inserted themselves into our grid without express consented permission with all my past, present, and future lives. I now revoke all soul family relations to the 15 tangible and intangible primary beings who have hijacked our incarnation process. I now revoke all immigration status to the astral to any of the pieces parts of the 15 primary multidimensional beings who intend to become soul family through deception or the use of fine print and soul contracts. I now state with all power from my heart, I do not consent with any interaction, covert or overt. I do not consent to any interaction with any parts of the broken spiritual system of incarnation. I now banish all forms of the 15 primary control beings from the entireness of my soul family until such time the 15 primary beings and all their pieces parts come to a fundamental understanding and acceptance, equality for all sentient kind.
How many times must you read something like that out loud? Does it only take once? Does it take some times to do it?
If you put your heart behind it, it can be done in one time. This is a thing that Michael can come in, and when you're bringing energy into a subject out loud, you are creating a pattern that's around you, and it interacts with the earth grid. So it's important to do it in a high energy state, a high happiness state. And at times when you're low on energy, just asserting your free will recharge you.
Yeah,
absolutely.
In the aerokinesis that I teach the students and the atmokinesis too, one of the first techniques we do is expand soul mass and mind mass too. And I'll differentiate between the two real quick. Soul mass is your magnetism, inward and outward at the same time. The lungs and the breath are always doing that crisscross. So your soul mass is how far out your magnetism actually goes. Your mind mass is how far out your light goes, which is your intelligence, your consciousness, your actual awareness. So what we do is we expand mind and soul mass out into a huge bubble, like a couple 100 feet in every direction, and then we claim that space through the law of universal free will. Like we literally voice it or send out very strong throat chakra vibrations that say, I claim this space by the universal law of free will. No other will can operate in this space that I claim apart from mine. And that's important to do because there might be fragments of your own psyche, or there's always beings that'll be watching over people taking their power. And so the first thing you do is claim that right to free will and exercise that. Then that thought, as Andrew said, it's not just a vibration and light. It's a whole reality. Like if you were in a lighter density, you would see your thoughts actually creating form around you.
Yes, you would literally see your thoughts and experience your thoughts creating.
Yeah.
We haven't had a meditation for a couple of weeks. Michael, is it a realistic thing for you to set up a meditation with the expansion of the soul mass and the mind mass, and for Andrew to read out a soul contract while people are in that state? Is that a useful thing to do? Or does it have to be the person reading it out?
Andrew, you'd have to answer that one.
I can read it out, and the energy field that I create and Michael create can expand into them. So it can be done that way. There's going to be a lot of people that are listening to this in archives, and they'll actually will be a part of it as we're existing now.
Yeah.
So it'll be a good thing to do.
Well, the 30-minute left to go mark. Let's do whatever you guys feel would be a useful exercise. If people are aware of the state that they need to move into, that that expanded state, and have written their own, they can do that any time they wish in the
Correct.
expanded state. That would be really, really useful. But in the balance of time, if we cycle back to the fact that we're sitting here, the reality we're living is still absolutely predominantly the one the controllers have provided for us. What are the key things we do in this physicality now to actually move us into the state where this event can actually flow through and we can move to the next stage? What do you suggest?
There's lots of things individuals can do. The whole reason they have all this power is because we gave it to them in an uninformed consent contract when we went through the birth process. And by taking it back as individuals, the taxing system can no longer take energy from you. And if you do it enough, you can take energy back instantly from them, and so they're in a negative bank account. Creating your own ways of expression about those concepts, like the four that I just read, is vital for you to become almost poetic in it, because that's when your true consciousness and creativity is being a part of it, so your free will is truly expressed. You can write 10 sentences a day that are, that roughly copy what I said, and then put your own personal expression in what it is that you want to get back out of this reality.
How does that express itself in dealing with day-to-day problems, like, a bank foreclosure, or some government department hassling you for, some ridiculous tax?
It's energy. It's all energy.
Mm-hmm.
It always comes down to energy. When you don't allow them to take their energy, the only thing they can function to you is in the matrix. If you're in foreclosure, many people are in tough mental times. It's absolutely vital for those people to be empowered, absolutely empowered. Because in empowerment, you realize the bank has limited your choices to foreclosure and take your energy versus not paying your mortgage and hiring someone that simply delays it, or doing something for your self-education that can put you in an empowered state where the banks can't interact with you. You function with the OPP, and there's all sorts of tools out there that are available to delay foreclosure, stop foreclosure, stop taxes. But it's you being empowered to the point that you get up and do something. And when people are in tough mental times, they don't have the power to do it. And it takes time for them to regain that power. And asserting the spiritual contract concept, so you regain your power back, is getting power, literally getting your power back. You're changing your local reality 1 ounce at a time, 1 ounce of energy at a time. And that's all your energy that they've been taxing on you for the last 28,000 years.
Now, you mentioned that you wanted to speak to the timeout date of June 21 to make people more aware of what's going to happen after that time. Could you start by explaining why there's a timeout again, just so people who may not have absorbed everything from last week are aware of why that exists?
March 20 to the 22nd and into the 23rd, the Galactic Prime Creator did an audit of all spiritual contracts of everybody on our planet, from top to bottom, as well as all the other planets in the solar system. And he came to the determination that the organization that he ceded management power to had completely 100% failed in that audit. At the same time that he was performing the audit, they tried to fudge the numbers by using CERN, the Large Hadron Collider. And at that point, there was a number of violations that got players ejected, and it called for a timeout phase by the Prime Creator, when none of the high energy beings, both light and dark, can do any significant action. But the middle management and upper crust management that are still physical beings that are under the system of domination control and are the system of domination control are acting out their spiritual programming right now. So the big guys are literally cannot act during this time between now and the 21st of June. Naturally, we as humans, every time your local area goes through spring, summer, and winter, you go through an energetic change. As spring comes into summer, the solstice, you go through a brand new rearmoring, new spiritual armor phase, where the spiritual armor that allowed you to experience reality is shed off, and you go into what I call a soft shell crab stage, where your energy is very distant and a little bit lighter, but you're rebuilding your new spiritual boundaries and your spiritual armor so you can go through the next phase of summer and autumn. And this is just a natural thing that happens but it's been used against us many, many times. And the type of propaganda that's going on now wants people to not go inside and to simply reuse the old boundary layers and spiritual armor layers they used from the previous winter. So whatever happens on a geopolitical scale, whatever happens on a local scale, you have to be aware that it's all about preventing you from going inside so you can re-empower yourself to have brand new spiritual boundaries, brand new sets of spiritual armor, so the propaganda cannot interact with you in any way, shape, or form. When the timeout ends, the propaganda, literally, the volume and voltage on it's going to be turned up 100-fold.
On your spiritual armor.
Yeah, I mean, people worldwide, they're going to turn it up 100-fold. And they're going to target individual people that are waking up with the different types of satellite technology that I talked about. That's why it's so vital after the 21st to the 14th of July that you take internal time to get out the old junk, do a fast if you can, learn energies, go to Michael's course. They have a 1-week free trial. You can learn lots of skills and techniques. Go pick up a book on Qigong. Go take a martial arts class. Get out there and do something that brings more energy to you that's for fun and for free.
Yeah, the biggest thing you'll learn through what we teach is outward polarization, actually getting your mind unified with the electromagnetic field and past your body, and then you become a conscious grid programmer at all times. You know, your power to create goes through the roof, like times 100 to a person who hasn't tapped their energies yet, because thoughts do have a level of power, but as science knows, the brain has a very, very, very weak electromagnetic charge compared to the heart, and that's this riddle of think with your heart. It really doesn't have to do so much with love. It has to do with magnetic power, because the heart magnetics that are going many, many, many feet past the body have like 100 times more amplitude than the head magnetics. So when you can unify your head magnetics with your body magnetics, then it literally feels like your head and your body grow out into an electromagnetic expansive, and then every thought you think occupies all of that space. So it's a whole different ball game than just being in your head and using thought energy. But
Exactly.
guys, let's take our 5-minute break.
Indeed. Okay. What song would you like to play today, Michael?
You go ahead and pick.
Okay. Well, I think the one we had last time. Actually, no, we'll play. Is it Bliss by Muse or Muse by Bliss, Michael?
Bliss by Muse.
Bliss by Muse. Excellent. Okay, it's about 4.5 minutes, and we'll see you after. And we're back. This is Walking with Energy with Michael Monk and Andrew Bartzis, our guest today, the Galactic Historian. So, Andrew, before the break...
Give me a moment here,
Chris. Oh, yeah, jump in, Michael, by all means.
Yeah, I just wanted to finish what I was on, because a lot of people view my material and what I have to say, because I come across really strong, because I'm trying to deliver a definitive message, and a lot of times it's taken by people as almost like I'm robbing their power, but I'm really robbing a false sense of power to give them a path to really truly empower themselves. Like what I said before the break about the difference between head magnetics and body magnetics. I don't want to say just heart, because the whole body is involved in it. It should make logical sense to everybody that thoughts do create reality. Now, how much amplitude is actually behind your thoughts? Because I'm constantly saying that only an energy master is an effective creator of reality. And I stand by that absolutely, because it has to do with the light, which is thoughts that you're sending out, and the amplitude behind them. So once again, if all you have is your head magnetics, which is inside of your brain, whatever thoughts you're putting out are going to be of a very weak magnetic and energetic amplitude. So what we do with energy mastery is we unify the head with the whole body first, and then outward into the electromagnetic spectrum, to where your head and your body literally extend outward, and there's no limit to how far outward you can be and think with. So if you're not an energy master, your thoughts are inside of your head, and after you think them, they literally float out of your head and go into a portal where they're processed in a co-creational manner. Well, the difference between that and an energy master is an energy master can think with his whole body and with all of the space around him. In other words, I can think of something right now 10 feet to the left of me, and 10 feet to the left of me can be the source of that thought, or I can think with my whole entire bubble. Like a classic example I like to use is I don't have a lot of patience. So if I'm checking out groceries in the grocery store and I'm waiting in a line, I just expand my whole soul and mind mass out into the whole grocery store, and I think with the electromagnetic spectrum of the whole grocery store, we need checkers up front, we need checkers up front, we're piling up, and I swear it only takes 10 seconds to 20 seconds before a checker just comes along because they picked up on that electromagnetic energy. So I just want people to understand that I'm truly trying to empower people. I'm trying to only remove the blinders from a false sense of empowerment that's been going around, that only belief creates reality. So all you have to do is believe and everything changes, because it's partial truth. It's very partial truth. There's thoughts, beliefs, and energy amplitude. And I've also said a few times that it is necessary for everybody to become telekinetic, because it's not so much a diving into a certain area of power as much as it is a natural side effect of having your mind in unity with your body and the electromagnetics around you. So in other words, when you've truly expanded your soul mass and your mind mass and tapped into your full power, that the telekinetics that we perform are a side effect of that. So if you guys really want to add to making this event happen and becoming, more able to empower yourself and your soul family to create your own local reality, you have to master energy. Now, I'm not saying that I'm the only teacher of that. I'm very proud of my work, and all of my students can speak for how effective it is. So, if you choose to learn on your own, I bless your efforts. If you choose to learn from another teacher, I bless your efforts. But we're here for you, and we offer a 7-day free trial, and after that, it's only $29 a month. So, you can see that we're not trying to make a killing. We're just trying to keep the thing going based on the financial system that's currently propelling the world. So that's it for that. We can.
Yep. Everything Michael said is exactly true. And I'll give a little metaphor. The cheerleaders in a football game believe they're going to win the game, but when they lose the game, their belief is broken. That belief only has the amplitude of energy that you're putting into it. Okay? It's just Heg magnetics. When you're functioning with your whole body energy, you are literally increasing the voltage from 1 volt of belief in being a cheerleader to being a proactive force of energy in your own energy field.
I sit here and listen to what Michael just said and what Andrew just said, and I look at all of the things that I've learned in the past 50 years and more, giving away my age there, and so much of it is not relevant to what's coming.
Yep.
There is a whole new paradigm to learn, and Michael and Peter and Andrew and other people who teach energy, this is the information that's been held from us that's absolutely vital. So get into it, folks. If you're listening to this show, there's probably a reason, and that reason is probably that your presence is required in the future with these skills.
Absolutely.
So, just before the break, you mentioned that the pause button comes off 21st of June, and you set up to 14th of July that the controllers were going to turn up the heat. They're going to fry us with their mind control technology, and we need to beef up against it. Why the 14th of July? What's going on beyond that date?
That is the natural evolutionary state that everyone goes through, of letting go of their winter spiritual armor and creating summer spiritual armor. Mm-hmm. So from the 21st to the 14th is that 3-week period, 3.5-week period, where people are supposed to go inside themselves. They're supposed to have that time off of work, off of their reality, so that they can create their own inner space, their own inner life, recharge their energy, determine how they want to consciously explore the 3D matrix with all of their energy. It's a new phase where you create all of your spiritual armors so that for the next year, you're capable of handling a higher voltage of yourself. Essentially, every year you go through spring to summer, that's your life telling you, are you ready for the next set of experiences that are going to age you? And for that aging process, you're going to have to increase every year of life. You have a whole new layer of energy coming to you. And if you're still functioning on your 18-year-old version of the spiritual armor, and you're 32 years old and never knew that you could change the way you deal with things, you're stuck in a low energy state. Every year you're supposed to create whole new inner realities and inner spiritual armors and boundaries, so beings of different vibration can not interact with you if they're low energy beings, or if they're higher energy beings, you can interact with them and actually understand the experience. So many people have experiences with high energy beings yet don't understand the experience simply because they don't have the energy to process the event. And
this year is far more important than most previous years, I presume.
Yes, the height of the galactic energy goes from June 2011 to August 2014. So every time we have an equinox or a solstice, you'll have a new phase to regenerate your boundaries, regenerate your soul energy, and literally increase the voltage and amplitude that your total soul makes available to you so you can function as a higher energy being through each of these solstice or equinox processes.
Because all of the things you suggested were things that tend to generate internal energy. And I presume if you're consciously aware that you're rebuilding a significant part of your inner life, and that your intention focuses that energy on that it's far more effective in preparing you for what's to come.
So during this 21st to 14th phase, any of those spiritual contract things that I read out loud would be very effective for you to use in the meditation. And then after the meditation, you go out in nature and allow yourself to be recharged. And know that you're putting out the intention and assertions that nothing can tax you of your energy. That's creating new boundaries. Other boundaries is the way negative people interact with you. You have negative soul contracts and fine print with other people, and if they're asleep and still enforcing that rule onto you, you can create verbiage, out loud verbiage, that indicates the rules to your energy body of how negative people are allowed to interact with you. You can demand that they have absolutely no access to your sacred inner space. And that's what everyone should do. They should be fully empowered sovereign beings so that no one in karmic resolution phase can force you into karmic resolution dramatic phase.
So you can't get pulled back into the drama with people.
Exactly.
And given the actual situation that we're in, where we're actually transitioning through this period to a much higher energetic state, I presume that will be particularly effective. You'll find people will just stay away.
Yep. Or they'll try to hyper-invest into you and break your boundaries.
Which should be incredibly obvious.
Right.
And you should be able to deal with that in more 3D fashions as well.
Everyone's met an energy vampire in their life. And many of them don't even know they do it. You've got an aunt that's, extremely set in her religious ways, or you've got someone that's a racist in your close circuit of friends. And when they start projecting those negative concepts onto you, they're literally trying to enforce their view on you, and you can reject it back to them and give your boundary layers instructions to act like a mirror that reflects any energy that doesn't come from true love or true love source to be reflected back at the sender. Any negative contract interactions that's trying to reach into your soul matrix to get you to react can be rejected.
Is there anything else that we can be doing during this period beyond what you've mentioned, which are fairly internal things? Are there communicating with the people around, information to the people around you as to what's going on? Because I presume that their consciousness levels will be lifting, and they probably will be more easily reached.
Yes, reaching out to people, whatever social media you use, websites, reach out to people. and I highly, highly ask people, please stop regurgitating and reposting fear porn. You know, every time I log into any social media network, I'll run across, you know, they're going to take your money here. This is coming. The UN soldiers are coming. The secession of the United States. Stop reposting the propaganda. Get the good stuff. Go to OPP. Start sharing those tools. Change the way you share energy. Social medias have so many negative connotations to them. You know, I've had over 30 likes on one of those little spiritual contract things I read. Come up with your own. Share those. Change the way that the system forces you regurgitation in your social media outlets. Social media is going to be very, very vital in the awakening of Earth and people sharing their dream experiences or sharing their local reality experiences.
You know, we're already using the technology. Like when I go into the upper collective consciousness of humanity, believe it or not, we use Facebook. We use a spiritual version of Facebook to communicate with each other. We literally send videos and imagery and sound and light to each other in like Facebook format, and we communicate telepathically like that. So
that's really cute. So you have emoticons on this?
But they're more like spiritual. You can send a picture with an embedded feeling attached and text to where when a person gets this psychically, they get the image and then they get the feeling that you embedded into it, and then they can read the words. Or if you're a really good telepath, you can even send video streams.
That's quite extraordinary. And how do you actually view it in your minds? Do you actually see it like a screen with stuff on it?
Yeah, it pops up in front of you like a screen.
I just experience it all at the same time. I've gotten past the screen phase where I'm so into the consciousness of the world and the Akashic records, so I experience all communication simultaneously.
I'm not sure how that makes any communication possible, Andrew, if you've got that much data coming in.
It's perception. I mean, I've reached the unlimited data perception point a long time ago. So it's infinite. It's infinite for me, and has been infinite for a long time. And I've just learned to function and translate into the 3D matrix, that's the infinite language, as best as I can in the 3D matrix language.
Yeah.
Something else I recommend for people: get out there and go to form drumming groups. Drumming and music and band groups are such an important way of getting chemistry among people, sharing energy, learning new skills that can create all sorts of wonderful things. You know, drumming and dance groups, for those people out there that don't have a musical inclination group, if you can make a drumming group, make a dance group, so the two energies can interact. You know, if one of you are an energy master, or you guys want to form a drumming group that uses all the skills that Michael teaches in his classes, you guys can do some amazing things with music and energy.
Michael, that's starting to sound like North American and South American group rituals, drumming and dancing.
That's the way we changed the Earth before. That's the way we interacted with the Earth. Your footfalls create a vibratory pattern. The drums create a vibratory pattern. All of those vibratory patterns interreact and create an amalgamated paradigm field of energy that literally finds a co-creative expressive form to the entity of Earth, and then Earth comes into your actual physical footfall movements and handfalls in their drums, creates perfect synchronicity and perfect exchange of energy. Yeah. So all spiritual needs, all physical needs, all sexual needs are met during that moment.
And when you have an energy master actually in the group, the soul and mind expanded, you can take a physical level vibration and extend it massively.
Yep.
Like one thing we teach in our course is how to hum with your lips, and at first we teach you how to, in the awakening, how to transfer that vibration into the very center of your head to activate your pineal and other centers. Later in the advanced courses, we actually teach you how to project that humming out of your very hands, out of your feet, into the air in front of you. You get to where you can hum with your lips and vibrate a person from 10 to 20 feet away.
Mm-hmm. When it comes to weather, 2 drummers and an energy master can change the weather. 10 drummers and 5 energy masters are going to make things that the videotapes will record. Okay?
Wow.
10 dancers, 10 drummers, 10 energy masters, functioning as a group with a central theme of expressing your free will and expressing your energy with no negative contracts interacting between any of them, allows you all to soul mass expand, all to experience the earth, all to experience the energies that you're expressing to. You know, if you're in a high earthquake zone, go and drum on the fault line. If you see a thunderstorm coming in, get out there and drum to it. Get out there and dance to it. Your actions create interaction with that moving system of energy.
And it sounds like a lot of fun.
Yeah. And I've personally been a part of a group that was 8,000 drummers that drummed and danced on the San Andreas Fault. Let me tell you something. I experienced more earth energy during that time than I have ever before.
Co-creation too. It's a completely co-creative effort.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess just doing it on such a, even on a very small level, gets people actually working together towards that common goal.
Yep. And then those common goal people can start sharing other ideas about empowering the people that aren't empowered. You know, you could have a drum and dance group, a drum and fire and dance group that, 5-7 people, and you start inviting people that are, in foreclosure, so you can do a drumming healing on them so that they can go home full of that energy.
Indeed, yeah, because it's not just, the interactions between you and the earth. There's the effect on the group itself and the energy they take from the experience. Look, I'll just mention one thing. You've mentioned OPP a couple of times. You're actually referring to OPPT, the One People's Public Trust work. That is correct?
Yep.
Isn't it? Yep.
Yes.
Yeah. Now it's to be found on a website called the IUV Exchange. Just for those who are looking for it, there's a lot of tools on there. If you've not had anything to do with it before, you'll have quite a learning curve, but that's where to look for it. Okay, we've actually just passed the half-hour mark to the end of the program. And earlier in the program, we talked about doing meditation that teaches people to expand, and in which state they can effectively use the soul contract documents that Andrew's been putting forward. What are your thoughts, Michael? How can we do this?
I'm cool with that. I could take people through a 5-10 minute soul expansion. Once we get everybody nice and expanded, Andrew could read the powerful words that he wrote.
That sounds
okay. Sounds good to me.
That sounds good. So you reckon about 10 minutes?
Yeah, that should cover it.
Okay. Which particular track would you like in the background?
Theta Heart.
Theta Heart. Okay, that runs for a nice long time. So you guys just do it over whatever time period you want to do it. And ready to start now?
Sure.
Okay, here we go.
Okay, I'm actually going to ask as many of you that are able to stand on your feet for this one. If you're not able to stand on your feet, make sure that they're at least touching the floor. But it's going to be far preferable and a lot more powerful if you can stand on your feet. So feet shoulder width apart, hands resting comfortably at your side. If you must sit down, you can't stand up, have your hands in your lap. Okay. Now we're going to cover something. We're going to cover awareness real quick. So what are you aware of right now? Not outside your body, I'm talking inside of it. What do you feel? You'll find that awareness is something that can be moved and shifted, and that you're very rarely aware of your whole body at the same time, that it's concentrated. So everybody become aware of your two hands real quick. Put all of your awareness on your hands. All of it. Let it drip out of your head. Let it rise up to your feet as if your two hands are all that exist. And you'll notice that as you do it, you feel more blood pressure in your hands. That's you contracting your space and your density of energy and putting all of your soul force there. Now, the way it works is you have X amount of soul force from your entity that at all times is dedicated towards building the physical body. You know, in times of extreme need, you can feed yourself more energy from your entity, but you always have this level of creational energy forming the body and the electromagnetic field around you available to you, and you can concentrate it, isolate it in places. So what we're going to do now is put our awareness on our 2 feet, touching the floor. This is why we stood up, because I want you to feel that heavy feeling. Feel how your feet have a pressure against your shoes and against the floor. And I want you to remove a mental barrier here and not view that in a gravitational physical matter sense, but rather unify with that pressure and see it as an energy. Sink all of your awareness down into your feet. Melt your consciousness right down into your feet as though your feet are the only 2 things that exist. Hold it. Keep that mind focus, that awareness consciousness focus on the 2 feet. Keep holding it. You're starting to feel an energy develop around your shins. You're starting to feel an electromagnetic connection. You're actually starting to feel your shoes as being a part of yourself, your carpet, your floor. Sink even further. Go below your feet. That feeling, that heavy feeling between your feet and the floor, that's more than just a feeling. That's communication between you and the floor and your shoes. So that's a direct link for you to extend your mind past your feet, past your shoes, and into the floor. Feelings are the universal language of communication that everything understands, including atoms and molecules. It's your gateway to actually expanding past the body. There you go. Drip down into that. Get a nice column of strong energy going down out of your feet. And now let's add breath to it. Do a concentrated inhale, pulling the energy into your chest. Collect it. Long, slow inhale. Now begin an exhale, and exhale the energy down your hips, down your legs, through your knees, and through your feet, like you're exhaling out both of your feet like they're nostrils. Very good. You see how that lightened up that dense energy, that you're putting light into that magnetic stone, which gives it that smoother connection. So let's do another in-breath. Now on this one, when we do the out-breath, I want you to let your mind follow the breath leaving your feet and go down deep with it. Exhale. Really sink. Keep sinking. You feel how the air around you is starting to get thicker and thicker and thicker the more you do this. You're literally increasing the density of the energy around you. As the air gets thicker around you, this becomes a medium for you to actually expand into it, because how that air energy, how it feels against your skin, that's more than just a feeling, that's communication. So expand your mind outward into this communication. Keep grounding deep and begin to expand yourself out spherically. Every out-breath, I want you to use that motion of the breath to propel it 360 degrees past your body, and let your mind actually surf out with it. Remember that how that feels against your skin, that's universal communication, and your very link to get past your body and outside into everything. So once again, ground deep, concentrated inhale, and on the exhale, not only go out the feet, but go outward 360 through every pore. And again, don't put much focus on the inhale. We're going for expansion now, so don't contract the energy this time with the inhale. Instead, hold the expansion that you've got and inhale only air. Big inhale. Now connect the breath to energy and exhale energy and mental awareness 360 degrees. Hold it. Now inhale only air. Don't contract the energy again. Inhale air only. Holding that expansion. And exhale 360. one more time and really push the limits on this one. Inhale. Exhale, energy and mental awareness 360. Okay, now hold this expanded space while Andrew will speak the words that we're going to use to empower ourselves.
I call to all spiritual contracts that exist within my past, present, and future beings, selves, and existence in this dimension and time stream, all time streams above, below, the Earth-concentric cosine wave of time. At this exact moment, in the ever-present co-creating moment, I summon all DNA lineage ancestors to create a unified, proper spiritual court of equity, so I may find remedy and resolve with all contracts that have been inserted fine print during the pre-birth and birth process. I call forth all soul ancestors to begin reading the record of the recording in the sacred mutual point of view. All dogmas, political, spiritual, or religious, are hereby permanently expelled from this neutral reading. All spiritual contracts with all timelines, visible and invisible. All dimensions interacting passively and actively are hereby informed that time does not exist as a social agreement. The counting of time returns to the natural universal format. At this ever-present co-creative and procreative moment, I hereby inform all entities that have territorial issues in spirit or solid form. The rules of the spiritual court of equity prohibit all territorial assertions of knowledge, wisdom, or enlightenment that exclude all sides from witnessing the reading of the record in the sacred mutual point of view. Just a second. I call forth all spiritual contracts that involve limiting my unified aspect of global dreamtime society. I revoke all tacit consent, uninformed past life consent, cultural uninformed consent, and all situations that limit me as being a complete soul family with all the capability of living in unified global dreamtime as a sovereign earth-centric soul with infinitely complete soul family circuitry. I hereby revoke all soul family decision-making process from false spirit courts and hijacked incarnation grid employees, tangible and spirit form. I now revoke all captured or assumed powers by all beings in the entire system of domination and control. I now revoke all interaction or assumed powers with all energy harvesting beings. I demand instant remedy and repayment for all stolen energy for lifetimes past, present, and future. I do not give consent in any way, shape, or form to be a part of a system of domination and control. I invoke the power of the soul family spiritual court of equity to act as the medium of contractual interactions with any being in the system of domination and control. I call to the four elements, fire, earth, air, water. I call to the Great Spirit who lives within Great Spirit and Great Mystery. You, the powers of Mother Earth manifested. I call to your wisdom. Bless me as I walk the sacred soil. Bless me as I breathe your sacred air. Bless me as I warm myself with sacred fire. Bless me with your sacred waters of life. Bless me as I learn to walk with personal power. Today I travel the great unknown. Grant me the wisdom to be humble. Grant me the wisdom to love even when love is not returned. Grant me the knowledge to balance my way, so I may heal my family, my tribe, my nation, and our Mother Earth. O great mystery is the source of all power. Show me the pathway to where magic lives within my soul, so I may drink of its power and share it with you all. I call them to the manifested powers of Mother Earth. Come forward and interact with me as a complete dreamtime entity in all my past, present, and future lives. I now revoke all contracts with all sacred geometry cities that create false dreamtime space. I revoke all assumed powers, rights, and contracts that involve the complete system of sacred geometry cities in this dimension and all dimensions that interact with Earth in a dreamtime format. I return all sovereign dreamtime rights, powers, and duty to Earth Mother's original dreamtime grid. I demand instant remedy and repayment for all lost interaction, true soul family, and dreamtime society that unify Earth as a complete being. I now notify all beings, tangible or intangible, any interaction with me or my dreaming body is now agitated by Earth Mother's primary dreamtime grid in the Aurora Borealis. I revoke and remand all assumed powers that send me to any false dreamtime grid created to limit my self-expression of a fully functional dream time in this matrix and all other matrix and existences. I got one final thing here for you. This is my personal message from my butterfly medicine. In a short time, the center of the universe will once again face her Mother Earth. When the two-legged see the Hanab Kub for the first time in the nighttime sky of the fifth world, many will see the great and vast expanse of nothingness. Minds will wonder at the facts of nothingness. In nothingness, something is born. My personal medicine of friend Butterfly comes forward to ask all people to see the many realms of the dream womb coming now into focus. Whole new realms of exploration are within our grasp. It will take thinkers, mathematicians, atheists, scientists, philosophers, Christians, Hindus, Muslims, Jewish, Buddhists, Native Americans, and the rainbow warriors of the fifth world to come together as families, clans, states, nations, and all of mankind to manifest peace, love, unity, harmony, so we may heal our Earth Mother as complete beings, recycling all the gifts of life. This is the last one. I call to all beings of earth, mind, sentience. Hear me as I speak my heart's truth. Hear me as I speak these words. I now revoke all soul family immigration status to the 15 multidimensional beings who inserted themselves into our grid without express consented permission with all of my past, present, and future lives. I now revoke all soul family relations to the 15 multidimensional beings, tangible and intangible, who have hijacked our incarnation grid. I now revoke all immigration status to the astral world, to any of the pieces, parts of the 15 primary beings who intend to become soul family through deception or the use of fine print and soul contracts. I now state with the power from my heart, I do not consent with any interaction, covert or overt. I do not consent to any interaction with any parts of the broken system of incarnation. I now banish all forms of the 15 primary control beings from the entireness of my soul family until such time the 15 primary beings and all their pieces, parts come to a fundamental understanding and acceptance, equality for all sentient kind. That's what I have.
All right, very good.
Whew. Whew, give me a moment here.
Yeah, I was running some extreme voltage and using, Andrew's voice and transferring it through my pineal, and yeah.
That was one long, absolute projection.
That's the power of manifesting beings coming together that are being transparent. Michael and I, and we're all transparent here. We understand that this is for everyone. This is not for one person to be in charge.
When I actually felt, Andrew, I could feel your words coming in through my ears into my head and just exploding outwards.
Mm-hmm.
It was
dissolving their contracts.
It was great, and I presume you could do this meditation daily and just add to it and add to it.
Yep. The more you personally invest to it, the more heart space and energy expansion you get out of it.
Yeah.
Is it better to read it out yourself? Is it better to listen to this meditation and
a little bit of both? Until you've memorized it, keep listening to it and saying it out loud.
Yeah. Yep. Excellent.
Now, what you were saying before about moving into a lighter space, that's like space, or the way I use space as an energy master is I can either expand it or contract it, and that either condenses or expands my energy. So if what you're saying is in alignment with that, then we're actually going to be, by having a more expanded space, we're actually going to have a greater energy, correct?
Correct. A much greater energy.
Yeah.
So much of our solar system is already in the less dense part of space, and Mars and Earth are not. So there are meditations and words that can be expressed to bring Earth and Mars in conjunction back into a normal format. There's all sorts of things that can be developed. It would be absolutely wonderful if people could come up with their own concepts and share them. Maybe we could have a thread here on the Walking in Energy. There's a little, tab there at the bottom where you can post Facebook stuff. Post your version of a prayer. post your version of removing contract, so that there's a massive amount of things that people can just share and use and cut and paste to what fits to them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The one that I might go ahead and do a formal video. I was going to do it for the advanced class. I might make it publicly available, though. But if you don't have the basics, it won't make sense. But I guess it would still, you're welcome to give it a try. But what's really important that I do daily is soul expansion meditation. So I literally can soul expand to no limit whatsoever. So I can wrap my whole mind and soul even around the sun and around the earth. So what I like to do is I use the breath mechanism like I was just teaching you guys. I'll soul expand up around the sun to where I literally feel it as a part of myself. Like it feels like a burning hot hat that I've got, way up in the sky, but it's still, it feels like part of my head. So I run that solar vibration and I breathe it into the earth. And I swear when I do it, Earth's mass expands. Its space expands because it's becoming more and more like the sun. So, per what Andrew's saying, the sun is already in that expanding space. Then by using the virtue of the sunlight itself and also connecting with its space, we can rapidly accelerate firing up the Earth grid.
Absolutely. And the CERN, I come back to this, its purpose not only to fudge the audit was to limit the amount of sunlight that was coming in here when Earth transitioned to the lighter density of space. Well, we can actively take the pegs of CERN down energy-wise, and there are many things that people could develop word-wise that people could share. And
I presume that the more emotional connection you've got to the words, the greater the energy. So if they're your words, they will project more energy, your thoughts.
Correct.
But that doesn't mean you can't use Andrews if Andrews really move you. If they move you, then it's job
use
done.
It.
Yeah, use it.
Use it.
Exactly. But if there's something you feel that's missing, or something you want to tweak, something extra, absolutely put it in there. Because it's your free will assertion. It's your free will choice to do that. So it just adds more.
I grant everybody the power to use these in any way, shape, or form that allows everybody to expand and limit their negative soul contracts. I wrote these for people to be empowered and to share. So there is no limitations to them. Become creative, become procreative, share them, expand upon them. It would be wonderful if someone could come up with a 6 or 7 page thing that incorporates all aspects of the last 3 shows that we've done.
Yeah.
So much information came from those 2 shows, and privately, we've talked that there should be a little disclaimer on it. It's waking people up. It is. That's the good thing.
It is a good thing. The other thing you can do is actually, I've seen people turn documents like this into poetry.
Yes.
And actually, you don't necessarily have to make it a rhyming poem. It can be more like a free-form haiku, and that will add more of your emotional content to it and give it greater power. Or a song would do the same.
I'll have my son make one into a dubstep.
There you go.
Into a what, Andrew? Michael?
Dubstep. Somebody have to auto-tune me.
What is a dubstep?
It's like a crazy electronic music where they do like loops and repeats, of like obnoxious sound samples.
Okay.
It's really popular these days.
Well, if it resonates, it's just music. And
no, it actually would be pretty powerful because the kids coming in are pretty dang activated even before they learn energy.
Okay. I mean, sure, there could be a rap version. There could even be an Ewok version.
Yeah. And if anybody out there wants to sorry, I have a little bit of a brain fart. Actually wants to reformat the other shows we did so they're in. Oh my God, my brain's not functioning right now.
Reformat the other shows to what?
So that they're in auto-tune. You ever heard somebody auto-tune a regular sentence?
No.
They basically turn you into like the boy band singing song.
Oh, okay. So you okay? Yep.
It'll really, really, really change the vibration of the message to a very high energy state. It'll be really really experiential for people. I've had a couple people share some of my archives that they've auto-tuned, and it's quite amusing, actually.
I mean, is it the fun value that increases the energy, or is there something else going on?
No, it's absolutely flowy in a weird synchronistic way.
Okay, I'll have to listen to one of those and see what it's all about. Haven't heard of that.
Isn't that like the guy that takes those crazy news interviews and he turns them into songs?
Yep, that's auto-tuning.
Yeah, I have a favor I'll share with you, Chris.
Okay. Sounds like you should do it after the show. Yeah. Very good. Look, we're coming up with 5 minutes to go. There's an endless list of things that we can move on to. But Andrew, do you want to give a short summary piece of the important points, the really important points you want to drive home that's come out of these 3 interviews? Well,
I've had an absolutely wonderful time with you, Chris, and Michael, and Peter. I've come to know you guys very well. I've interacted with you on a psychic level and a dream level. I've had dreams of many of the people that listen in the audience. And I'm one of those people, as well as many others out there, that have decided to step forward and help people reclaim their power and free will. At every step of the game, I'm here to empower you to get your free will, to eliminate your negative spiritual contracts and habit patterns. Share these messages. I implore you to just get out there and share yourselves, even if we're separate of these interviews. Share yourselves. Get together in groups and say, you had this experience in your life, you had that experience. And know as the groups begin to form, we create energy and the Earth grid comes alive again. Everything that I explained from the Galactic Historian's perspective in the first 2 shows was so that you have a foundation, a primer of what's to come. This last show is about empowering yourself. Well, once you guys get the big picture, share it. Get out there and share. Get out there and love. Get out there and learn energy. Get out there in nature. Turn off your cell phone. Turn off your wireless router. Allow yourself to dream. Expand and explore other forms of consciousness exploration. Get out there and read a book. Turn off the television. Stop regurgitating fear porn on Facebook. And if you find yourself in the computer 18 to 20 to 30 hours a week, cut it down to 9 hours a week. And when you find yourself addicted and can't do it, ask yourself why, and know that there's contracts or energetic entities that are keeping you addicted to that system. Be empowered. Be the power. Be the change.
Andrew, I just have one thing that I'd like to suggest to people too. We're forced to interact with the system a lot. We're forced to deal with banks. We're forced to deal with bills, all the rest of it. If we use the soul contracts as we fill in documents, for instance, and place that energy into the document, what effect does that have?
Tremendous effects. You also need to remove your energy from the documents that you're sending to any bank, any court. And you can do that by literally creating a simple prayer that describes how your energy is completely 100% totally removed. And the only energy that's allowed in it is the spiritual cord of equity energy, so that you get instant remedy and instant results, instant resolve, so that they have none of your energy to cannibalize on you anymore. All of these terminologies can be applied to any court situation, and you will strip those courts of those corporations of their energy so fast, because they have very few systems that retain energy, because their whole purpose is to trade it up to the next group who's going to reinvest it into the systems of domination control. The banks are just a holding house of energy, and you could wipe them clean of energy if a few thousand people that were energy masters started writing documents that were purposely designed to eliminate their energy.
Yeah. Is that something else that you could post out publicly, that kind of document for the energy masters?
Sure. It's something that I could do.
Yeah, well, let's do that, because I have a feeling that even writing a check, you could have a big effect.
Yep.
Anything. Excellent.
Yeah, for Andrew, those of you new to the show that haven't check out our website yet, be sure to do that. It's avatarenergymaster.com. We got tons of demonstrations, lots of good writings, videos, and 7-day free trial. Nothing to lose. So thank you all for a great show this week. I really felt everybody really strong. It was great.
My website is andrewbartzis.com. Right now, I'm temporarily not taking any new readings. I have tremendous amounts of response. I'm going to be booked for all of July and all of August and part of in October. So please don't send a payment and expect a reading anytime in the next 3 months. For anyone that's applied before June the 1st, I will be sending out a mass email about the new booking process. I have 443 different requests, and I'm going to have to sort out some of the information because not everybody sent me full contact. So please be patient. When I return from Mount Shasta on the 29th, I'll begin doing 72 readings a month to catch myself up.
Excellent. Guys, thanks for a great show. Thanks, everybody, for listening, and we'll see you all next week. And don't forget to look out for Andrew's material and explore those soul contracts documents. Thanks very much for listening, folks. Bye for now.
Bye, everybody.